Today we'll be taking a look at the rather short lifespan of one Leon S. Kennedy. This man was a genius in the second Resident Evil title, and at some point between then and now appears to have had a stroke, as he's forgotten how to open doors by himself, keeps on making stupid mistakes. I am Jack, and this is Death Toll.
Resident Evil 6.
An explosion of that size, strong enough to pick up and throw two human beings that distance, remaining aloft for roughly 3 seconds, would cause massive internal injuries from the concussive force of the blast. Internal bleeding, ruptured organs, and scrambled brains. There is no doctor alive that could save his life. Leon, you're dead. Barring the drastic, unrealistic nature of grinding the side of a train with both side doors of the helicopter open, going through the window as he did would cause the glass from both the window and the windshield from the helicopter to be blown back in the direction of his face, neck, and chest, with most of the imparted force from the impact, namely the speed at which he was moving toward the building. And given how far they slide, I would say that would be enough to bury it into his skull. Giving Leon the benefit of the doubt and assuming his stupid ass ducked, we will say that he managed a few medium injuries to his back from the glass. As I mentioned before about imparted force, shards of glass that large moving at that speed would, without a doubt, make contact with the unprotected back of Leon's head and neck as well as the backs of his arms. Buddy, you're dead again. Dislocated shoulder and or broken arm, and possibly a few bruised, cracked, or potentially broken ribs. Again, giving him the benefit of doubt, we will assume that one of his ribs didn't break inward to puncture a lung.
Oh my god!
She's already gone! Shoot her!
But...
Firing a weapon, in this case the wing shooter, assumed to be a 9mm handgun in an enclosed space such as an elevator, is known to cause long-lasting damage to your hearing. While not an immediate threat or a danger to his life, he's still an idiot for doing it when he could have just kicked the woman in the head.
Made it off campus. Now we just gotta get through town.
Without getting killed.
Not that he had time to do so, but Leon wasn't wearing his seatbelt, and as the rest of the cinematic suggests, no airbags were deployed. Without a seatbelt, he would have been free to tumble about the inside of the vehicle during its 1.5 rolls. Surviving an accident like this with a seatbelt on is slim at best. Throwing in the explosion that engulfed the front of and a section of the cab of the vehicle would leave him broken and bleeding if he'd survived the initial roll, only to have fire, heat, and force meet his face. That's 3. Leon, you're terrible at this game.
Shit! Someone shoot the gas! We can blow these things to Kingdom Come!
I can believe a lot of things. What I can't believe is that a former police officer isn't aware that explosions create shockwaves, and that anybody, cop or not, would think that igniting an explosion while standing that close to it was a good idea. SWAT officers who use breaching charges don't stand in front of the blast for that same reason. Even through body armor, internal injury is assured, not to mention the possibility of getting hit with shrapnel from whatever is exploding. Suspension of disbelief is one thing. Murdering your main character is something totally different. Guess what, guy? You did. shot looked flawless, and I enjoyed the slow motion inside the bus view. But the drop in the metal box was 3 to 5 seconds. Not accounting for the initial impact of the truck, the bus fell off a cliff, hit the wall of said cliff, and then landed, window side down on a hard, rocky surface, rolling as it descended. The bus would have reached half of its terminal velocity by the time it hit the ground, Leon rolling about inside as well before coming to a hard stop at the bottom. If we are to believe that he didn't manage to be ejected from the now windowless vehicle and be under it when it landed, his body would then be too broken to move, and it doesn't look like there are any doctors around to help him. I don't think a red-green herb combination is going to help a broken spine. Dead as hell. A collision in a mining cart at roughly 20 miles per hour would have thrown him forward in said cart. A collision at 10 miles an hour while belted into a vehicle has an 80% chance of causing an injury known as whiplash to the neck. What do you think doubling that would do? As secondary, Leon fell the distance of 3 stories, which has a 95% mortality rate. If it were just one or the other, he could have eked by. However, it wasn't. Therefore, he didn't. Goodbye. Firstly, no. Just no. The physics of a moving object, for one, and if we're to believe that the wings were intact through even a part of the crash, it would have caused the plane to turn into one of the many structures. Not to mention the cars that were without a doubt under the crashing aircraft. As the video shows, the wings were destroyed, and there's quite a bit of fire there. The fuel on a passenger aircraft of this type is held in 2 different locations. The first is the main tank under the aircraft, beneath the wings, as well as the wings themselves. The second is at the tail of the aircraft, used for horizontal stability. The plane would have, at the very least, been engulfed in the fire from its own fuel, and at the most, buried into one of the buildings it passed. Landing gear would have been broken if it were deployed at all, and seeing as that, again, Leon wasn't wearing safety straps, he wouldn't have been in the seat for longer than a second after the plane touched the ground. You already know what I'm going to say. 7. The average speed of a passenger train is 81 miles per hour, and this average is determined by every cruise speed of passenger trains in the US, Canada, Europe, and Asia. Due to the derailment, I'll say that at the time they jumped, the train was traveling at 75 miles per hour. This also means that Leon is traveling at the same speed. With a lack of visual calculation and timing, he takes a flying leap through these cables in order to make it to the water below. His chances of being hit and then cut in half by the cables he jumped through were too high not to notice. If I wanted to count both halves of him that died, I wouldn't feel bad, as this dude is a moron. However, rules of the game make this 8. Leon S. Kennedy, your death toll is 8. Thanks for watching. Want to see more? Hit the like button. Have an idea for what game to do next? Leave a comment below. Stay awesome. Cheers.